I am here to take a new chapter called as Constructors. What the chapter name is called as Constructor. So quite a simple concept. What is a constructor? A constructor is one of the member function whose name happens to be the same as the class. This is known as a constructor. I repeat again. A member function or a method having the same name as the class is known as a constructor. Why do we use the constructor? What is the need of the constructor? That's all. Is it mandatory? Even if you do not create a constructor, by default, compiler creates by itself. And Java is one of the built-in facility. It destructs by itself, unlike C++. Those days we used to construct it. Once the fag end of the program, we used to destruct it. Otherwise, you know what happens? The constructor simply will pile up. It will take a lot of space. It occupies plenty of space in your RAM. Right? Once you create a constructor, those days, create the constructor, which is, what is the use, what is the need of a constructor? To give the legal initial value. To give the initial value of your data types or the data, right? To give a legal initial value of your data, we use the constructor, right? Because Java has a built-in facility called as auto garbage. For example, I have 5 constructors, right? Once if I use the 5 constructors, it occupies certain amount of memory in your RAM, right? What happens is afterwards, now, once the program gets over, we the user, then I am talking about those days in C++ or C language, we need to delete them. What has been created, that needs to be destroyed. What has been constructed has been destructed. Right? But Java has a built-in facility is called as auto garbage system. You create it, you use them. Right? Once if you come to the end of the program, automatically whatever the constructors have been created gets destructed by itself, right? So that the memory is released time in there, right? What is a constructor? A constructor is a function or a member method of a class whose name is same as your class name. In short, I'll tell you in other words, the class name and one of the member function having the same name is known as a constructor. Why do we use the constructor? We use the constructor to give the initial value, to initialize, to give the legal initial value, we use the constructor. How many types of constructors are there? There are 2 types of constructors are there. One is called as parameterized constructor, another one is called as non-parameterized constructor. As I told you, let's not dig the past. We had a default constructor then. That concept isn't there these days. So there are 2 different types of constructors. One is called as parameterized constructor, another one is called as non-parameterized constructor. Right? Which I am going to tell you right away with an example. Should I? Yeah, here. What happens is, let's say that, let's write a class called as we have a class called as X, Y, Z. What the class name is called as? X, Y, Z, right? Now what I am going to do is, one of the member function has to be the same. What do you understand this? You may have any number of member functions. You need not be one constructor, you can have multiple constructors, right? So, the class name and the method name, if they are same, then it is known as a constructor. It's known as constructor. What is this called as? A command. Right? What do you use? For example, I am using three variables in my program: integer A, integer B, and integer C. Right? Even if we don't create this constructor, the compiler creates by itself. But you need to know the concept of constructor because it is part of your ICSA syllabus, right? So what you do is, I give some values. For instance, A is equal to 0, B is equal to 0, and C is equal to 0. Right? This is called as a constructor. To give the legal missing value, A value 0, B value 0, C value 0. These are all the data members I use it. If it is a string, the string would be a null string. If it is a character, it's a null character. If it is an integer, it will be a 0. If it is float, it will be 0.0. If it is double, it will be 0.0. Right? So, what happens is, there are three variables I use it. All the three variables, because they are integer, it will be 0. If they are string, all of them will be a null string. A string contains nothing. If they are character, null character. Character will not have anything. Right? Now what I am trying to tell you is this. The method name and the class name, if they are same, is known as a constructor. Is known as a constructor. Why do we use the constructor? To give the legal initial value of the data items. Every class should have two major components. One is called as data members and member functions. To initialize the data members, we use the constructor. Right? There are two different types of constructors are there. Constructors are two different types. First one is called as non-parameterized. Another one is called as what is the difference between these two? Here there are no parameters, that's why it's a non-parameterized. If you have a parameters, then it's known as parameterized constructor. Most important thing here is the constructor should not be a private, public, protected. It will not return anything. No public, no private, no protected. Not even void. Not even void. Simply write the class, whatever may be the class name, you write it open and close parameters, open and close parenthesis, if they are non-parameterized constructor. If it is a parameterized constructor, I will write an example, you will come to know. Right? What is a constructor is all about, boys and girls? Constructor is a function whose name is same as your class name is called as. Now, in this class, I will write one more, not one more. Please note. The first one, there are four methods are there in this class. What the class name is called as XYZ. The fourth method is display. Third method is calc. Second method is input, and the first method is XYZ. Right? Why do we use this? As I told you just few moments ago, to give the legal initial values, to initialize the values. If you have parameters inside the parenthesis, it's known as parameterized constructor. If they are not there, then it's called as non-parameterized constructor, right? This XYZ is nothing but other functions. There are three functions are there. This is also a function, right? The only difference is you will not have a void, you will not have a public, private, nothing. Simply the class name followed by open close. That's it, right? I repeat again, boys and girls, for the last time. A function having the same name as your class is known as constructor. Why do we require the constructor? To give the legal initial value of your data members, right? How many types of constructors are there in Java? There are two types of constructors are there. The first one is called as non-parameterized. If you do not have a parameter here, it's called as non-parameterized constructor. If there are parameters are there, then it's called as parameterized constructor. Is this clear, boys and girls? Okay. Now in this class XYZ, I don't have XYZ once. I have four methods: XYZ, 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 XYZ. Here there are no parameters, here there are some parameters, here there are some parameters. That is called as constructor overloading. It's called as constructor overloading. I will elaborate a little in a while, right? And let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you what it is. Now let me tell you what a parameterized constructor is all about. Should I? Now, please note, boys and girls, there are three variables are there: P, Q and R. The P, Q and R can be used within this scope because they are method variables. I can use beyond it. Beyond this, if I use P, Q, R, you cannot access them. You cannot use P, Q, R. I need to use this P, Q, R only within this scope, right? The P value gets stored in A. Q value gets stored in B. Similarly, R value gets stored in C. So I declared this one is called as a global variable ABC. ABC I declared them right in the beginning of the program. So ABC can be used here, ABC can be used here, ABC can be used here, ABC can be used here. When I use here PQR, it's called as concept of data hiding. Access is not being, access is denied. You cannot access PQR here. PQR are the variables that can be used within this method. I cannot use them here because PQR you did not declare them. So PQ are called as local variables. I can locally use within this method, not beyond that scope. A, B, C are the global variables. I can use in all the four methods. What is the fourth method is? Display. Third method is cal. Second method is input. First method is XYZ. Is this clear? So, if you have the parameters within the parenthesis of a method whose name happens to be the same as your class, that is known as parameterized constructor. Is known as parameterized constructor. Is this clear? Is this clear? Yeah. Now, I wanted to tell you what do you mean by constructor overloading. Here, what is the method name is XYZ. What is the method name is input. What is the method name is cal. What is the method name is display. Instead of this input, cal and display, here again XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. What happens? In a class, two or more methods. In a class, two or more methods having the same name is known as function overloading. We have learned before. Okay. In this case, XYZ, 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 XYZ. 4 methods are there having the same name and class name is also XYZ. Then it is not function overloading. Instead, okay, it's known as a constructor overloading. What do you mean by constructor? Class name and method name, if they are same, is known as constructor. But in a class, more than one function having the same name and the class name is also same, then this concept is known as constructor overloading. Let me sum it up what has been done. I will be doing one program, boys and girls, right? Kindly pay attention. Before I go in for the program, I wanted you to sum it up what has been done. A constructor is a method or a function having the same name as your class. Why do we use the function? Why do we use the constructor? To give the legal initial value, we use the constructor. Done? How many types of constructors are there? There are 2 types of constructors are there. One is called as parameterized constructor. Another one is called as non-parameterized constructor. Right? So, with the help of this constructor, we shall straight away implement in our programming concept. Okay? Dear children, now I have done a program where 2 types of constructors have been incorporated. One constructor without parameter, another one constructor with parameter. Right? So, that's what I am going to tell you now. Right? Here I go. Here. What the class name is? Today. What is the method name is? Today. What is the method name is? Today. What is the method name is? Display. Public void display. Public today. Even the public is also not required. This also not required. You can take away. Right? Straight away you can write today only. Not even void. So this is the first method, here is the second method and here is a third method. A class called as today which has 3 methods. Among the 3, the third method is display which starts here and ends here. And second method is today with parameter and first method is today without parameter. Right? May I call this one as constructor overloading? Yes. In a class, 2 methods or more than 2 methods having the same name as your class, that is known as constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. Now I better see the working example of your both the constructors, right? What are the data descriptions? What are the data numbers I am using? I am using 3 variables DD, MM, YY, which indicates date, month and year. Right? I am telling my system, I am telling the Java compiler that entire program I am going to use 3 variables DD, MM and YY. Because it's a public variable, I declared right at the beginning of this DD, MM, YY can be used in the first method, second method and third method. That's why it's called as global variable or global declaration. Right? Look at your day, month, year. These 3 variables, all of them are integers. Day, month and year. I can use it only within this scope. I cannot use beyond this scope. This concept is known as data hiding. This concept is called as data hiding. It's a fantastic feature. Right? I will not be able to use day, month and year beyond this. what happens if I use it? What happens? Because they are the method identifiers, you cannot use it. If you forcibly use it, it says variable not declared. Means the identifier which are not declared, you are trying to access in this other than this method. Okay, then an error message will be flashed. Okay, here I tell my computer, right, I am going to use three variables dd, and yy. In the first method, what do I do? dd, because all of them are happen to be integer. Date is also 0, month is also 0, and year is also 0. At this point, all the three variables will be 0, 0, 0. Right? Now, what do I do? The next one is, whatever the day value is sent from this object, day value will be stored in dd. For example, today is 22nd, right? 22nd will be stored in day, month will be of 5, and year will be of 2020. So this 22 will be stored in dd. 5 will be stored in month, and 2020 will be stored in year. Imagine if once it is stored, you can use here, you can use here, you can use here, you can use, okay, because you have declared them as a global. Right? Now, this is called as non-parameterized constructor, this is called as parameterized constructor. Now, when I create an object, I have a method called as display. What do I do it? Please note, today is the class name. OB is shortest form of, I am creating an object called as OB with the help of an operator, a keyword called as new. New will let you to create an object called as what? OB. OB will have 22, 5, 2020. Means it has got, and this object will have three details. What the first detail will be? 22. Second detail is 5, and third detail is 20. When I run this program, ob.dd means, please note dot operator. Here I am using new operator, here I am using the dot operator. New operator will create an object called as ob. I am using this ob here. How many details are there? 3 details. Among the 3 details, I want only dd. What is the dd value will be? 22. dd of what? OB, which are created, means 22 will come. After what I have? Slash will be displayed because I given within the double quotation mark. Plus L1 of OB. Just now you create an object. What is the second object of your object OB? 5. Then afterwards I display a slash. And third data member of OB. What is the third data member of OB is? 2020. Please note, boys and girls, I am creating an object called as what? OB, which will have 3 pieces of information. The first piece, what will happen is 22 will be stored here, 5 will be stored here, and 2020 will be stored here. So what does the day value be how much? 22. 22 will be stored in DE. Then 5 will be stored in MM. 2020 will be stored in YY. I displayed. Please note, I am creating the second object. The first object was OB. I am creating one more object called as OB1. What are the details are there? Again, like 3 pieces. What the first piece of information is? 31 will be stored in DD. Day. 5 will be stored in month. 2020 will be stored in year. I store, what is the day value is? 31. Month value will be 5. Year value will be 2020. I come down, I print system.out.println OB1. Please note here I am displaying OB here OB1.yy. What is the OB? What is the third parameter? YY will have What is the YY? Will have 2020 will come. 2020 will come. Afterwards, what do I do it? A hyphen will be printed. And object 1 of MM. Just now I created object 1. What is the second parameter is? 5. I adjoin this hyphen. Then ob1.dd. ob1 is what? What is the dd value will be 31st. So these are all the details that are available in OB. 2025 31 are available in OB1. I create in this program two objects, namely OB and OB1. This is British's way of writing. This is Japanese way of writing. Dates. We have the habit of following the Britishers. Day, month and year. If you go to the western part of the world, they write month, year and the month, day and year they write. But in Japan, what do they write? They first write the year, then second write the month, and third they write the day. So what happens is, the plus will adjoin. After this, hyphen will be adjoined. After this, hyphen will be adjoined. Here what did I adjoin it? Slash I adjoined twice. Right? What you need to understand is, in this program, I have created two objects, boys and girls. What is the first object? First object is OB. What is the second object is OB1. How many constructors are there? Two constructors are there. This is called as non-parameterized constructor. And this one is called as, I am able to write here, parameterized constructor. Constructor does not have any parameters, constructors having the parameters, right? So both the non-parameterized constructor and parameterized constructors, both of them I am using in a single program, so that you will start using it. In the following class, we will be writing some programs where you should know the concept of constructors. You have to have a constructor. Okay, it's a very healthy practice. Even if they don't ask in the IS examination, okay, it's a healthy practice to create a constructor. Why do we create it? To give the legal initial value of the data members, we write the constructors. As I told you, even if you do not write the constructor, computer creates a constructor by default by itself. Even if you do not know, internally it does. But because it's part of your syllabus, learn how to create an object with the help of the object, how do we pass the value for the parameterized constructor, and how do we write the non-parameterized constructor. Is this clear? Okay, we shall implement the concept of constructors in all the following programs. Take care, copy down this program and practice this program. Thank you, boys and girls. Take care. Bye-bye.